Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. Today, since the NFL just started, it's going to be special day NFL players. We'll see if you can guess these questions here. In the next segment, we're going to bring on former San Francisco Giant and Angels fan favorite, JT Snow, which, by the way, a lot of people don't remember. He had a little stint with the Yankees and the Red Sox. And I have a little fun story about meeting him at a restaurant in spring training. He probably won't, he may or may not remember this, but it's kind of a fun little story. Also want to, obviously, we'll try to touch on some football, but while we have JT on, we definitely want to talk a lot of baseball. Russell, you want to say anything before we cut to our break here?
Yeah, I do want to say we've had many guests on the show. This is the very first time that we've had a guest on the show that actually have a bobblehead of.
Well, JT, that's quite an accomplishment if Russell has a bobblehead of you. All right. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is still sponsored by Pacific Private Money, still providing mortgage investments currently yielding over 7% secured by real estate. Doesn't get any more conservative than them. You got to check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. By the way, no investor has ever lost money so far. Obviously, future results are not predicted based on the past, but that's always a good sign. All right, stay with us. You are listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back with JT Snow. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with my co-host Russell Jackman, and on the phone we have our special guest JT Snow. JT, welcome to Sports Econ 101 again. We had John a long time ago.
Thanks for having me.
Sure.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I got a fun. First, I want to start off with a fun little story. So some years back, and I think it was 2004, 2003, something like that. We went down to spring training, and we happened to go to a restaurant, and you and your family were there. And my son recognized you because he was facing that way. And he says, do you think I could get his autograph? And I said, well, he's with his family. And I said, the wives hate that kind of stuff, So I said, well, but you know what, though? I said, at the head of the table is his dad, Jack. And he was a phenomenal player for the Rams and a real 49ers killer. I said, why don't you go up and ask if you can get his dad's autograph? And so he went ahead and did that. And you were really touched by that because you said, nowadays everyone, because you were very, very obviously back then, very, very popular. Everybody was always asking for your autograph. And you said, no, my dad would love that. And so we went over and got his autograph. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, that's a good story. Always go through the parents, right? Like my dad loved doing that. He was always very accommodating. And at that time, especially being in spring training in Scottsdale, what a great place to have spring training. And we'd go out to dinner a lot and people recognize you, and it's all good. And I learned a lot of lessons from my dad and how he treated people. And now I'm in kind of that same situation where I've been retired for a number of years now. And when people come up and ask you for your autograph, you're excited and you're thrilled and you're happy to do it and happy that they remembered. So yeah, whenever you want to go through somebody, go through the parent, and then it's all good. So just a lot of good memories with my dad and Scottsdale and spring training, and a lot of fun times.
Good. Russell, you want to ask JT some questions? I know.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you. One of the lasting memories of you as a Giant. Was when you got Dusty Baker's son and you saved him from getting run into at home plate. And do you have any thoughts about that incident? And do you still keep in touch with Dusty Baker and his son?
An interesting story is that happened in the 2002 World Series. Darren was one of our bat boys. He was 3 years old at the time. I'm on second base. David Bell, who now manages the Reds, was on first base. Kenny Lofton's hits a deep fly ball to right center. I'm on second, so I go back to tag up, and David Bell's halfway from first to second. So the ball falls in off the wall, and I'm just kind of trotting around. here comes David behind me, and Darren ran out to grab the bat because his favorite player was Kenny Lofton. And the head bat boy at the time told him not to go out there because there could be a play at the plate. There could be some consequences. And but Darren didn't listen, ran out there. So as I'm jogging in from rounding third, jogging in, or I was on third, I went back to tag. I'm sorry, I was on third and David Bell was on second. David was halfway. I was tagging from third. And I see Darren shoot out of the dugout. And I knew what he was doing. He was going for the bat, which was in the left-handed batter's box. So as I'm kind of cruising into home plate, around about 50%, I see him. So luckily I snag his jacket, step on the plate, kick the bat out of the way, and David Bell comes in behind me, sliding. Benji Molina, who later plays for the Giants, was catching with the Angels. Mike Riley was the home plate umpire. And all I could hear was Mike Riley saying, get him out of here, get him out of here. And luckily, my son was about the same age at the time, so I'm used to grabbing kids and getting them out of harm's way. So, and then fast forward like 20 years later, I'm working for the Pac-12 network doing college baseball, broadcasting. Darren's at Cal Berkeley playing, and a really good player now in the minor leagues with the Washington Nationals. And we reminisced about it. Dusty, before he took the Astros job, was at a lot of Darren's games. So we all reminisced about it. And Darren didn't remember anything about it. So I had to interview him one day about that. And it turned out to be a pretty good interview. And the ironic thing was I have a really cool picture in my office at home. It's like a 3-shot picture. And nobody's even looking at home plate because everyone's looking at David Bell running in or the ball falling in right field. So, excuse me, no one really saw what happened until they saw the replays on the news that night. So a pretty amazing thing that happened. Will probably never happen again because they raised the bat boy age to like 13 years old the next year. And so just, right place at the right time. And I always tell people, I said, I hit 407 in the World Series, got a hit in all 7 games, played a great series. And all that I'm remembered for is saving a 3-year-old kid on the plate.
Well, that's only because I
I
still have bad memories of the 2002 series as a fan, as a Giants fan. Because if you guys won, it would have been totally different. Does that? You've had so many great situations in your career. Again, I'm just a fan, right? And that 2002 series. In fact, the 1962 World Series still gives me a craw. Is in my craw. How does that resonate with you?
It was tough, and I think about it all the time to this day because we could have been the first team in San Francisco history to win a World Series. Game 6, we're up, and Russ Ortiz is cruising, and they make the decision, to go to the bullpen. The Angels, rally, and Scott Spezio hits a 3-run home run.
Yeah.
They took Ortiz out, brought Rodriguez in, Felix Rodriguez, and then we were up, and I was literally in the field in the 7th inning in Game 6 going, wow, I'm going to have a ring. We're going to be the first World Series champs because we were cruising, and we had such a good lineup back then. We could So the game unfolds, and then the next inning, Erstad hits a leadoff home run. Now we're down 5-4. The next day, Game 7, and I don't know if many people know this, but we as players and the team, we were pushing for Kurt Reeder to start Game 7 because Kurt was just one of those guys, lefty, keep everybody off balance. The front office wanted to go with Livan Hernandez because he was a big game pitcher with the Marlins, won a World Series, and we just didn't think it was going to be a good matchup. We were going against John Lackey, who was a rookie for the Angels at the time. So when they made the decision to go with Livan, we were kind of upset as a team, as the players. Not upset in Livan by any means, but just to give, it's one game to give your team the best chance to win. And we thought Kurt Reeder was that guy. We ended up losing 4-1, and and that was it. We lost the whole season. Turned in about 10 innings there, the last Game 6 and Game 7, and we look back, and a lot of the guys that I think we got when I came there in '97, along with guys like Jeff Kent, Rich Aurelia, and Darrell Hamilton, a bunch of we kind of turned the page and turned the tide for the Giants, got them on the right direction. And I think that really led to the World Series in the coming years because we put them back on the map.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's too bad that the managers and coaches don't really listen to the players in that situation, because you're the guys who actually have to play. And if you're kind of feeling it a certain way, they really need to pay attention to what you guys are doing. Hey, okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break here. We're talking special NFL day in the NFL players. You'll see what I mean here. All right. There were
Sounds
hearts
good.
okay, you ready for this? Okay, and JT, if you know the answer, don't say anything until we get back from break. All right. There were
Okay.
hearts everywhere on this Valentine's Day in 1972 when this future quarterback was born. He played most of his career with the Patriots and even threw 400 pass completions in one season. Who is this that wore number 11 for the Patriots? So he was born on Valentine's Day in 1972. That's why there was this special day type of thing, right? Okay, email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. On Valentine's Day in 1972, this future quarterback was born, played most of his career with the Patriots, and threw 400 pass completions in one season. Who is this that wore number 11? Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with JT Snow as our guest. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Russell Jackman and our special guest, JT Snow. Our first trivia question, born on Valentine's Day in 1972, this future quarterback was born. He played most of his career with the Patriots and even threw 400 pass completions in one season. Who is this quarterback who wore number 11?
Bledsoe?
Yes, very good. All right. So now, JT, and I'm going to give credit to my brother, Mike Brown, because I asked him, I said, hey, we're going to have JT Snow on. Why don't you give me some questions you want me to ask him? So he came up with this. He said, how unique is a first baseman's glove?
It's everything. I mean, it's your lifeline. Out of high school, I went to the University of Arizona in Tucson, and I got my real first baseman's glove down there because we had a Wilson contract, and Wilson gave us first baseman's gloves and catcher's gear. So the glove I used at Arizona my freshman year, I kept that same model through my whole career. And then I used the same glove the last 6 years of my career. Always used a black Wilson 2802 double hinge break by the palm. And then our clubhouse guy, Mike Murphy, with the Giants, who was just the best in the game, would restring it every year, put new padding in it and restring it every year for me. And it was like a brand new glove that was already broken in. So I used to use a new one every year, but then I found for some reason the last 6 years, the one I had was just amazing. And I mean, that's your, our glove is different than everybody else on the field. It's a little bigger, and we love to pick balls and make some plays at first with it. So my first base gloves, they never got out of my sight. When I traveled, the first thing I put in my travel bag under all my clothes so that nobody could steal it. And it's just, I still have it today in my office at my home. It's just, it was just the best.
Now, did you wear a hand glove underneath in addition?
I did. I wore a batting glove underneath just because, some of the infielders you get can throw it pretty firm across the diamond. And I tried it without a glove one time and my hand got beat up.
Yeah.
So, I used to wear a glove under there. And, your glove is like your best friend.
Well, speaking of that, so who was the most accurate player you received throws from?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of guys. When I came up with the Angels, we had a shortstop named Gary DiSarcina, who's still coaching the big leagues. He might be with the Mets now, third base coach. He's had a really good career. He was so accurate with didn't throw the ball hard over there, but was on the money all the time. Gary was a great, I just could relax when a ball was hit to him. Another guy when I was with the Giants was Rich Aurelia, our shortstop, New York guy out of St. John's, Brooklyn. Richie had a great arm from short, very accurate. David Bell from third base was one of the best. He was accurate. So there's a lot of good guys. And as a first baseman, I would tell my infielders, just get the ball close. Let me work with it. Give it to me early. let me stretch. And I'm going to save you some errors. I'm going to pick some balls out of the dirt. So I got quite a few free dinners from my infielders over the years for saving them a few errors every year. I enjoyed playing the position and having fun out there.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you. So, and here's the opposite. Who threw the wildest? Where you'd have to kind of go, okay, yeah, let me get extra prepared here, because you were very well, you were well known for your defense. You're very, very good at picking out of the dirt.
There wasn't too many guys, actually. I think just the toughest plays are the slow rollers or the choppers that the infielders have to come in on and throw off balance or on the run.
Yeah.
But everybody threw kind of a different ball. Like I remember playing with Jeff Kent at second base, and he threw me kind of a little cutter just because he would get it and throw it. Some guys really take time to get the seams, throw you a nice four-seamer. And yeah, so everyone's different. Everyone was pretty accurate. It's just those, like I said, those slow rollers, those choppers, when they're throwing off one leg and throwing sidearm underneath, the ball's going to move. So you, as a first baseman, you always expect a bad throw from your infielder. So that if it does happen, you're ready for it. But if it doesn't happen, it's a nice easy catch.
Yeah, those short hops can kind of get you too. And now you played with Barry Bonds. Any comments about him? Belonging in the Hall of Fame. And then also I want to ask you about some rule changes. Not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot.
Well, so a reporter told me at the end of my career that I had played more with Barry than anybody in his career, because I was in San Francisco for 9 years. So I played with Barry for 9 years. Obviously probably the best hitter that we've seen our generation. The time that I came up with was a big steroid era. I've told people, and I can look them in the face and honestly say I never took them. I'm proud of that. I competed without them, and we know guys took them, and guys were getting advantages, which I didn't appreciate, or I don't, I didn't think it was fair. I think Barry falls into that category. Obviously, that's why he's not in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I don't know what the right answer is. I think there's guys already in the Hall of Fame that cheated the system, that people let through. I think the reporters are kind of holding a grudge against Barry and Clemens and those guys. They weren't the nicest to the media, but I have a different outlook on the Hall of Fame. I think it's kind of tainted, and the guys that they've let in now. And I think there's guys that have had Hall of Fame. I don't think the Hall of Fame is just you hit 500 home runs or win 300 games and you're in. I think that, if you were a great player offensively and defensively and a great teammate and a great source for the media, I think that's a Hall of Fame person. There's a lot of guys that I've played with and against that should be in there that aren't, but maybe they don't have the greatest numbers. But so I look at it differently, and I don't know what the right answer is, but I will say that they've already let guys in that did the whole steroid thing, and now they're holding guys out. So I don't know if you let everybody in or what you do. I'm just glad that I never took him in my career, and I had a decent career without him.
Well, like Ted, Ted Williams did not have a very good rapport with the reporters, and there were actually some people who voted to keep him out. I mean, he didn't get 100%. It's like, how do you leave a guy like that out? It's funny you mentioned the steroids. When I was working out during that steroid time, obviously I wasn't taking them. I was just kind of working out, and I told my friend who was a bodybuilding a judge, I said, I wish people would accuse me of being on steroids. He goes, hey, listen, at your age, be happy if you get accused of being on the Atkins diet. And I said, oh, holy smokes. Okay. Hey, any comments on the rule changes, that we've had?
Well, there's so many of them. I think that, we've talked a lot about it this year. I think some of them are good. Some of them I don't understand. I think that baseball was, and I have kids that are in their early 20s, and they love the NFL, they love the NBA. Why? Because it's exciting and moves fast, and there's action. And they got turned off by baseball because they said it's boring. But baseball, I try and tell people, baseball is not any other game, where it's every day, it's long, it's hard to follow, it's a total grind, and that's just that's just the way it is. I think the pitch clock I love. I think the game was getting too long. Guys walking around the mound and batter stepping out. I don't, and you guys from my generation, we always say, well, back in my day, this and that.
Yeah.
But I think baseball is supposed to be hard. It's a hard game.
Yeah.
It's supposed to wear you down. It's supposed to be the best of the best. And I just, the starting a guy on second base in extra innings. I mean, it reminds me of coaching Little League when the sun's going down. You need to have a winner because you can't have a tie. And
True.
That's just a weird one, depending on where your order. I watched it last night with the Giants and the Guardians. It's some team has the bottom of the order up, so they're going to bunt them over. The other team has their 3, 4, and 5 guys, so they're going to slug. The bigger bases has obviously led to more steals, but back in the day, it was just guys stole bases because they could. And
yeah.
I think looking back, all the analytics that baseball went through has driven all these changes, because there was a lot of strikeouts. There was a lot of fly balls, and putting the ball in play, guys hitting nowadays with runners in scoring position, it's not that big of a deal. And I kind of scratched my head and said, that's all we cared about when I played, was like, who's clutch, who can drive in guys with guys on base.
Yeah.
And guys are, and I'm in San Francisco now, where they're one of the biggest analytic driven teams, because the Bay Area is a smart area. They listen to all the numbers. They try and outsmart you. So I don't know. There's, facing 3 batters late in the game, things like this. There's some that are good. The pitch clock is good. The game moves.
Yeah.
There's others that I don't agree with. So that's just the way it is. That's where we've come to. And you're seeing a lot of hitters moan and complain about balls and strikes. I think hitters have gotten so particular now, and they're taught, if the ball's not where you want it, don't swing at it. When guys need to expand their zone, swing the bat. You watch some of these aggressive teams like the Braves, right? The Tampa just came into town. The Phillies, these teams swing the bat. Like, you can hit a pitch a half a ball off the plate and you can drive it. And I think teams have gotten so into the strike zone, and they're complaining with the umpires. And I think that's one of the great things about baseball is the umpires and the way the game, the way it's seen. And you're going to have calls go against you, and you're going to have calls go for you. You just have to deal with it. But in our society nowadays, it's everybody wants to be perfect, and we want to get everything right. And that's just not the way life is.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, JT, stay with us. Got one more question here to ask. This 1967 New Year's baby grew up to be a Hall of Fame linebacker for the Chiefs for 11 years. After putting his number 58 jersey in the closet in the 1999 season, he would never wear it again on the field. He died of a massive blood clot in the year 2000. Who was this great linebacker for the Chiefs? All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman and our special guest, JT Snow. Our second trivia question: this 1967 New Year's baby grew up to be a Hall of Fame linebacker for the Chiefs for 11 seasons. He wore number 58, died in the year 2000. Only 33 years old. Who was this great linebacker? Anybody?
Derek White.
Close. Derek Thomas.
Derek Thomas.
Derek Thomas. Yeah. Very
Sorry.
good.
First name. First name. I was thinking Reggie White for a second.
Yeah. Wrong
um,
team, but and wrong position. But that's okay. So JT, what are you doing nowadays?
Playing a lot of golf. Working on the.
How come we didn't see you a couple weeks ago? How come we didn't see you a couple weeks ago then?
Yeah, at the Joe Morgan Memorial.
I don't know. I don't get invited. I need to get my name out there. I've been working really hard at it, and I'm kind of addicted to it. I'm a good player. I'm like a 5 handicap. I'm shooting, breaking 80, shooting the 70s, but it's hard to get down to that next level. I just need to get a little better with my irons. I drive it good and I chip and putt good. It's just that in between I need to work on a little bit more. But yeah, play a lot. I'm up in the Bay Area. I was, like I said, I was working for the Pac-12 network, doing some broadcasting college baseball. I've done some Giant stuff. And just raising kids. We're empty nesters now. The kids are out of the house. So just kind of looking maybe at our next move, at a little, place to go retire and play some more golf. And would love to get back in the game. I love baseball. I think the game is changing now. I think the coaching is going to kind of come full circle. And we went through, like I said earlier, the analytic stage. I think teams are wanting to get back to some of the older school guys that can teach the game. We're seeing there's a lot of bad baseball out there, just fundamentals and mechanics and stuff. And I think some of the guys that played can get the kids back on the right track. So just, I'm open to anything. I love the broadcasting. I'm hoping to do some more games. I did some Giants games a few years ago, and we'll just see what happens, but I'm pretty open.
Why do you think the coaching's not so good right now? What do you think's going on?
Well, I just think the players. I think it's a lot of analytic driven. And they basically taught one swing with the hitters. When fly balls and strikeouts are not a big deal anymore. It just we've seen it through the league. I mean, look at the league batting average the last few years. I mean, it's in the 230s, and that's when we played. That just wasn't acceptable. And it's about putting the ball in play, hitting the ball hard. They'll never be replacement for hitting line drives and hard ground balls. And
sure. Let me ask you, how much of it do you think has to do with the fact that other sports have become really popular, and so kids, so to speak, kind of tend, a little bit more basketball, soccer, etc. Baseball's kind of fallen off a little bit. Do you think some of that has to do with it?
Yeah. And it might. And baseball's a hard sport for kids because you have to pay attention. And we all know in today's society there's a lot of attention issues. But you know what I tell kids? I say baseball is the best game because if you're pitching or you're hitting, I said it's all about you, and you can get as greedy as you want. Like we've all played basketball with the kid that scores 40 points and gets the ball every time down the court. Yep. We've all played soccer with the kid that gets the ball and scores 3 goals. But I go in baseball, it's the best game. You get to go up there 4 times and hit, and you can go 4 for 4, and no one's ever going to complain that you're a ball hog or that or you can pitch and you can strike out 10 guys, and no one's ever going to complain, hey, you struck out too many guys. Hey, or you can play defense and make spectacular plays. So baseball in that fact is the best game because you can get as greedy as you want, and no one can stop you. If you can hit 400, you can hit 500 in Little League, and you're going to be a great player. It's just, you need the kids to, and I think a lot of that goes down to the coaching. And I coach Little League with my son and other kids. And sometimes the way coaches are running practice, I always had our kids moving. We always played situations. We always had live batting practice and kids running the bases and putting pressure on the defense. And we did that for hours instead of, a kid getting 10 swings and hitting them a few ground balls during practice. They need to, and then kids will start to get it. And, it's easy on your body, and it's such a mental game that's why, I love baseball the most. It's just, we need to find those kids that want to play, and success and confidence will breed kids coming back out to play, and they start having success in their little leagues and climbing the ladders. The other thing is, I think kids are playing way too much though these days with all the travel ball, and kids are getting burned out. They're getting hurt. We're seeing all the Tommy John surgery that's filtering down into like high school and little league now. It's just, you need to take a break, and you need to be a kid and need to go have a summertime and, go to the beach or go camping or, go in the winter, go to the mountains and, go skiing or sledding, whatever. Just be a kid and get away from the game for a while.
Yeah, it reminds me what they asked Roger Hornsby years ago, obviously, about 100 years ago, what do you do during the wintertime? Because I just sit out there, look at the window and wait for spring, and it's like, no, you got to participate in other sports, I knew a few guys who, could throw in the high 80s in high school. And it's like, what, of course they threw their arm out. So they had a potential career in the big leagues, and then it just went down overnight. What do you do to the little kids who are in the outfield, specifically right field? How do you keep them engaged?
Well, you just have to do like situations, and you have to mix kids around.
Yeah.
You have to, you one inning, you play right field, but the next inning, you got to go play another position, go play center or left, or go play third base or second base. Move the kids around. That's what I'm talking about, getting them engaged. Like, don't just stick a kid out there and leave him out there to rot. Like, I did that with our little league team. We played this game called 4-on-4-on-4. We had 4 hitters, 4 infielders, and we put 4 guys in the outfield to make it tougher to get a hit. And then every time you made 3 outs, outfield went to the infield went to hitting, hitters went to the outfield. You rotate that way. And the only rule we had is you couldn't play the same position, 2 times in a row. So kids are moving around. And heck, you never know who you might find a diamond in the rough. You might find a kid that's got a great arm, and I could put him in center field, or a kid that's fast, or maybe a kid doesn't catch a ground ball as well, but he can catch a fly ball. So that's how you figure it out. You just keep the kids moving, you keep them engaged, and you just kind of keep them on their toes and keep them guessing.
It kind of reminds me of golf, where, when you hit a really good shot and you think, oh, this is an easy game. I could do that. I could be on the circuit, and same thing with baseball, where, I just think, gosh, 162 games. That's like you said, that's got to take a lot of wear and tear on your body. Sure, you can have, like an average player can have a good game, but to be that consistent is really the tough part.
Yeah, it's the long haul. You learn as a player coming up through college and the minor leagues and then the big leagues how to pace yourself and what it takes for you. Everyone's different. What it takes for you to get through the rigors of a season. A day off here and there is nice from the manager, but just be consistent. And that's what I'm talking about earlier, about why baseball is the toughest game, right? It's playing every day. A lot of it is played from the neck up. The physical.
Yeah.
The physical aspects, everyone kind of has something, but it's a mental game on the pitchers and the hitters, and you just learn it growing up and going through it. And you have to love it. If you don't love it, then you got to go do something else.
Yeah. Russ, did you want to ask JT any more questions?
Yeah, just, we don't have that much time, but I just wanted to say, you had a great career, but is there anything that you would want to have done differently looking back on your career as a baseball player?
I don't think, I think I got the most out of, what I was born with. Looking back, I had 1 scholarship offer out of high school for baseball to Arizona. I took it. I don't think any of my college coaches or some of those people ever thought that I would probably have the career that I did. I was lucky to get drafted into the New York Yankees organization, and I loved all the coaches there that worked with me from instructional league to the minor leagues. And they're the ones that really believed in me and said, hey, you can play 10 years in the big leagues. You can play first base and hit a few home runs, drive in runs. Your defense is going to be Gold Glove. So yeah, I just, looking back, I worked as hard as I could. I got that from my father. And when it was over, I was, sure, could we have hit more home runs or driven more? Yeah, everybody can do that. The one thing I do wish is that I wish I would have played in a hitter's ballpark, because I never played in a hitter's ballpark. From my time in Anaheim, when it was the old Big A Stadium and enclosed, was a tough place to hit. And then playing in Candlestick for 6 years, and then the new ballpark, Candlestick for 3, and then the new ballpark in San Francisco for 6 years. Not really good left-handed hitters ballpark. So I wish I would have played in a hitter's ballpark throughout my career, just for a few years, to see if some of the numbers would have been better and the production would have been better. But that's just the way it goes. You don't have control, and you go where you're signed up for, and you play where you play. But I always would have loved to play in a Coors Field, or
I was gonna say Colorado
Philadelphia now, or Colorado,
or Wrigley Field.
I think Wrigley Field was one of my favorites. The wind's blowing out, and I think my career batting average in Colorado for a number over close to 100 games was like 370 or something. So it definitely makes a difference. So anyways, that's my only take. I wish I would have played in a hitter's ballpark.
Yeah, I know. They always said, like, I always go to like the old baseball. So it's like, they say Joe DiMaggio should have played at Fenway, and Ted Williams should have played in Yankee Stadium.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Any fun stories you want to tell us? We got about a minute and a half to go.
No, I think we've we've covered a lot. I think.
Well, what do you think about the Giants'
really,
chances? What do you think about the Giants' chances this year to make it to the postseason?
Well, I mean, they're right there. They're a game and a half out. There's about 4 teams competing for that one spot. So I think, the Giants have struggled against really good teams. I still watch a lot of their games. They've struggled against the top teams. They've played well against the mediocre or the bottom level teams. I think there's about 20 games to go, and I know they're playing the Guardians right now. Then they go to the Rockies. Then they got the Dodgers and Padres, and the Diamondbacks to end the season. So they've been up and down. I think the one thing that frustrates me with them is their defense. They're last in the National League in fielding. I think they've gotten pretty sloppy on the defensive side. I think they could have won a few more games if their defense was tightened up. Their pitching's okay, and they're hitting. The hitting nowadays is all pretty lumped together. There's only a few really good hitting teams out there, but they're getting some of their guys back. If they can make a run, who knows what happens. I think we talked about some of the changes in baseball earlier. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's good or bad that you let all these wild card teams in. It's obviously good for the cities and the fans, and it brings a lot of money in. But when I played, it was always about trying to win the division, and I think they had one wild card team in. But that's just the way we are now in our world we live in. It's just the more the merrier, and let's make a lot of people happy and get teams in. So
how about everyone gets a participation
I don't know.
trophy?
There's a lot of teams that get into playoffs. So I don't really know if I agree with that, but that's just the way it is.
Okay, JT, stay with us. We're just going to go to our quick commercial break here. Okay, so there were additional fireworks in the sky on this July 4th day in 1943. This future career New York Jet running back was born in Augusta, Georgia. He was an AFL rookie in 1966. He wore number 32 when Joe Namath guaranteed their Super Bowl win against the Colts. Who is this running back? Stay with us. Sports Geek Econ 101 will be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial.
Okay, you got it. Yep.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman and our special guest, JT Snow. Our last trivia question on July 4th, in 1943, this future career New York Jet running back was born. He wore number 32 when Joe Namath guaranteed the Super Bowl win against the Colts. What was the name of this running back? Anyone remember?
No, you did go back to the 40s for this.
Yeah, one. I know. I tease Russell when I talk. I give him baseball questions from the 1300s. Yes. Okay, Emerson Boozer. At least you know the name. Okay, yeah. So here's our thoughts for the day. All right, what does a baby computer call its father? Data. Data. Okay, and I once dated a woman who asked where our relationship was going. And when I said, well, sitting on the couch here watching the ball game, she said, no, I mean long term. And I reacted with, well, the game could go into extra innings. Strange. I never saw her again. JT, thank you again for being our guest on Sports Econ 101. I'm going to go ahead and remind the Joe Morgan Memorial Golf Tournament team or charity that they should keep in touch with you because you live not too far. They play it in the South Bay. All right, audience, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sport topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
So long.